Alright, what up YouTube? This is my first video since the Pocky Challenge. Yes, and if you're wondering, I'm okay. Now, on to college football. We have Louisville versus Ole Miss. Not tomorrow, but next Monday, on Labor Day night in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, I've seen a lot of season openers, bowl games, playoff, national championship games, where it's SEC versus ACC. And I gotta tell you, ACC doesn't usually do too good against SEC opponents overall. Every now and then you'll see Florida State beat Ole Miss from 5 years ago. Clemson messed around and beat Alabama in the championships in the playoff games. Every now and then you'll see something like that, but for the most part, the SEC usually comes out on top as a victor. And now, not just the ACC, but the Big Ten with Michigan and Alabama. You're seeing it with Auburn against Washington and Oregon and the Pac-12 teams, among other teams out there. LSU over Oklahoma. Heck, LSU over Texas and everybody. So that's another example of Big 12 versus SEC, SEC versus anybody. You know, this is a very interesting matchup. I don't know what to expect out of Louisville. Tutu Atwell, among other top offensive weapons, are gone for Louisville. So that's going to hurt them. Scott Satterfield, whatever his name is for Louisville's head coach, he's a good coach. I think he's the real deal. He's going to have to replace a lot of those weapons on offense. Defensively, did they lose anybody on defense? I don't know. You know, I'm not really much of a Louisville fan, but I've kind of stuck close to watching them more often ever since what they did at FSU 5 years ago, which should have been illegal. Petty fan talking. Now, Ole Miss, I know exactly what they're bringing back. They're bringing back most of their team. Not Hugh Freeze, excuse me. Lane Kiffin, he's the real deal, the head coach, in my opinion. He thinks he could beat Nick Saban. Moving on. You know, I have to go with Ole Miss in this game. I think Ole Miss is the better team. I think they have the better players. I think Louisville will hang it close. They might even have a lead for a short while in this game. But, you know, it's just the SEC usually wins. And it's the first game of the year. You know, Louisville is not beating Ole Miss in Atlanta because I think Louisville is bringing back more new faces than Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin is going to ride off his momentum from last year into this year. And if you're thinking about how Ole Miss had a close game with Alabama, that has nothing to do with my pick. It's just, you know, Scott Satterfield has not won a big game with Louisville yet. He held it close with Notre Dame. Was a lot like the Florida State game last year. If they would have played them again, it wouldn't have been that close. Let's be honest, you know. As far as the score prediction, how I think the game goes, I think this game will be competitive for a first half. I think the second half, you'll see Lane Kiffin with his offensive mindset and his coaching staff with his players. I think they'll make the proper adjustments. They'll probably have a hard time running the ball for a little while. They'll be able to pass the ball good enough to have maybe a 3-point, 6-point lead at halftime. But I think their passing game will be too much for Louisville in the second half. I think Louisville's offense is going to self-destruct. And I think you'll see Ole Miss win this game. They'll pull away 38-17, maybe 40-17, something like that. I think you'll see Ole Miss score 2 touchdowns and run the score up a little bit more than it should be. You know, I don't think Louisville has no chance to win this game. Obviously, they could do it. I think Scott Satterfield is a really good head coach. I'm sorry, I apologize if I'm saying his name right. You know, but you know, that's just my opinion. I just don't see Ole Miss. The Ole Miss is supposed to be a team to give Alabama nightmares in the future. You know, there's no way Louisville beats them. That's just my opinion. Unless Ole Miss plays like crap and Louisville comes out and plays a perfect game. But in order to play a perfect game, you can't have penalties like self-inflicted penalties like holding, offsides, false start, roughing the passer, targeting. You can't have those. You know, Louisville probably will have some of those more than Ole Miss does. That's just my opinion.